Life can change in an instant. For one family, a joyous wedding celebration turned into a living nightmare. This is the story of Raja Raghuvanshi, a young businessman from Indore with a bright future ahead of him. At 29 years old, he had just married the woman he hoped to spend his life with, 24-year-old Sonam. Their marriage was supposed to be the start of a beautiful new chapter. They planned a romantic honeymoon to the scenic hills of Meghalaya, a place known for its breathtaking waterfalls and lush green landscapes. But this trip, meant to celebrate love and new beginnings, would end in unimaginable horror. The serene beauty of Cherrapunji would soon become the backdrop for a cold-blooded and calculated murder. The main people in this shocking story are Raja, the unsuspecting victim, and his new wife, Sonam. She is now the main suspect in his murder. Police believe she was not a loving bride, but a cunning mastermind who planned her husband's death. Another key person is Raj Kushwaha, a 21-year-old man who worked for Sonam's family. He was allegedly Sonam's secret lover, and together they are accused of plotting this terrible crime. To carry out their deadly plan, they allegedly hired 3 men. Media group, mugshots or police lineup of 3 men, group of young Indian men at stock to distribute _equally, Akash Rajput, Vishal Singh Chauhan, and Anand Cooley. These 5 individuals are now at the center of a murder investigation that has captured the nation's attention, revealing a dark tale of betrayal, greed, and forbidden love. What happened on that honeymoon trip has left everyone asking the same questions. How could a new bride be involved in the murder of her husband? What secrets was she hiding behind her smile? The investigation has uncovered a chilling plot that was allegedly set in motion even before the wedding vows were exchanged. The police have worked tirelessly to piece together the events, following a trail of clues that led them from the misty hills of Meghalaya back to the busy streets of Indore. This case serves as a grim reminder that sometimes the greatest danger can come from the people we are supposed to trust the most. It is a story of a promise broken and a life cut tragically short. This essay will take you through the entire story, step by step. We will start with the wedding of Raja and Sonam and their journey to Meghalaya. We will look into the secret relationship that police believe was the motive for this crime. We will detail how the murder was planned and who was involved in the conspiracy. Then, we will recount the horrifying events that took place on May 23, 2025, on a secluded trail near a beautiful waterfall. We will follow the police investigation, the discovery of crucial evidence, and the eventual arrests of all the accused. Finally, we will discuss the current status of the case and why this story of a honeymoon horror has left so many people in shock and disbelief. The story began with what seemed like a happy occasion. On May 11, 2025, Raja Raghuvanshi and Sonam were married in a grand ceremony in Indore. Their families celebrated, and friends wished them a long and happy life together. Raja, a successful businessman, was excited to start his new life with Sonam. He saw a future filled with love and companionship. To celebrate their union, Raja planned a special honeymoon trip to Meghalaya, a state famous for its natural beauty. He wanted to show his new wife the stunning landscapes of Cherrapunji, also known as Sora, a place often called the abode of the clouds. He carefully planned the trip, hoping to create memories that they would cherish forever. Little did he know, the memories from this trip would be of a very different kind. Just a few days after their wedding, Raja and Sonam prepared for their journey. Raja's family was happy for them, but they later noticed some strange things. Raja's mother recalled that Sonam had taken a large amount of cash, around 9 lakh rupees, along with valuable jewelry for the trip. At the time, they might have thought nothing of it, perhaps believing it was for shopping or expenses. Another strange detail was that Sonam had apparently not booked any return tickets from their honeymoon destination. This small but significant detail would later become a chilling piece of the puzzle for investigators. On May 21, 2025, the newly married couple arrived in Meghalaya, ready to begin their romantic getaway in the serene hills. Their first couple of days in Meghalaya were spent exploring the local sites. They rented a scooter to travel around, visiting markets and scenic spots. To an outsider, they would have looked like any other happy couple on their honeymoon. They stayed in hotels and seemed to be enjoying their time together. Raja was likely pointing out the beautiful sights, completely unaware of the dark thoughts that were allegedly swirling in his wife's mind. He trusted her completely. He believed they were building a life together. This trust was his biggest mistake, a mistake that would ultimately cost him his life in the most brutal way imaginable. His dream of a happy marriage was about to be shattered. The destination they chose, Cherrapunji, is known for its living root bridges and powerful waterfalls. It is a place that inspires awe and wonder. For Raja, it was the perfect setting for romance. But for Sonam, according to police, it was the perfect setting for a crime. The remote trails, the deep gorges, and the dense forests offered the kind of isolation she and her conspirators needed. The beauty of the landscape was just a cover for the ugly plan that was about to unfold. The journey that started with wedding bells and blessings was now heading towards a tragic and violent end, all while the unsuspecting groom smiled, holding the hand of the woman who allegedly planned to kill him. Behind the facade of a newlywed bride, Sonam was hiding a huge secret. Police investigators discovered that she was in a long-term relationship with another man, Raj Kushwaha. Raj was just 21 years old and worked at a business owned by Sonam's family. Their relationship was serious, and Sonam was reportedly deeply unhappy about her arranged marriage to Raja. She did not want to marry Raja, but she was under pressure from her family. This internal conflict set the stage for the tragedy that followed. Her heart belonged to someone else, and she was allegedly willing to do anything to be with him, even if it meant committing a terrible crime. The signs of Sonam's resistance were there even before the wedding. According to reports, she had a heated argument with her mother about the marriage. In a chilling warning, she allegedly told her mother, "If you ever get me married, just wait and see what I'll do." These words, which might have been dismissed as an empty threat from an unhappy daughter at the time, now sound like a direct and sinister promise. It shows the depth of her desperation and her unwillingness to accept a life with Raja. She felt trapped, and instead of finding a peaceful way out, she allegedly chose a path of violence and deception. This secret love affair was the powerful motive that drove the entire conspiracy. Just 4 days after her wedding to Raja, Sonam returned to her parents' home. This was an unusual move for a new bride, but she used this time to meet with her lover, Raj Kushwaha. It was during this period, police believe, that the final details of the murder plot were discussed and solidified. The plan was not a spontaneous act of passion, but a carefully thought-out conspiracy. They decided that the honeymoon trip to Meghalaya would be the perfect opportunity to get rid of Raja permanently. The remote location would make it easier to commit the crime and harder for police to trace it back to them. The romantic getaway was nothing more than a carefully constructed trap. Sonam's feelings for Raj and her resentment towards her forced marriage created a toxic combination. She saw Raja not as her husband, but as an obstacle that stood in the way of her happiness with Raj. This desperate desire to be with her lover allegedly pushed her to mastermind a plot that was both cruel and cold-hearted. She played the part of a loving wife, all the while knowing that she was leading her husband to his death. This hidden love story was not a romance. It was the foundation for a brutal murder. Her actions show a disturbing ability to deceive those closest to her, turning a sacred union into a deadly charade. The plan to murder Raja Raghuvansha was not just the idea of two scorned lovers, it involved a team of hired killers. According to the police investigation, Sonam's lover, Raj Kushwaha, took the lead in organizing the crime. He allegedly reached out to 3 men and offered them a large sum of money to kill Raja. The price for a man's life was set at 20 lakh rupees. The 3 men hired for this gruesome task were Akash Rajput, Vishal Singh Chauhan, and Anand Cooley. These men agreed to become part of the conspiracy, motivated by the promise of easy money. This transformed the plot from a crime of passion into a cold, calculated contract killing. Once the deal was made, the planning moved quickly. On May 17, 2025, just 6 days after Raja and Sonam's wedding, The three hired killers began their journey from Indore to Meghalaya. Raj Kushwaha provided them with 50,000 rupees in cash as an advance payment and a new mobile phone to communicate with him and Sonam. To avoid being tracked, the killers used various modes of transportation. They took buses, trains and taxis, constantly changing their route to make it difficult for law enforcement to follow their trail. They were essentially ghosts, moving across the country with a single deadly purpose: to be in position in Meghalaya when Raja and Sonam arrived for their honeymoon. The level of planning was meticulous. The killers were instructed on where to go and what to do. They traveled thousands of kilometers to a state they were likely unfamiliar with, all as part of this sinister plot. While they were making their way to Meghalaya, Sonam was with her new husband, acting as if everything was normal. She was in constant secret communication with Raj, and through him, the killers. The entire operation was coordinated from afar, with Raj acting as the handler and Sonam as the inside person, guiding her husband into the trap that had been laid for him. Every step was carefully choreographed to ensure the plan went off without a hitch. The purchase of the murder weapon was also part of the plan. Once the killers arrived in the region, they bought a kukri, a type of curved machete in the city of Guwahati. This was not a weapon of opportunity. It was chosen for its deadly effectiveness. The conspiracy was now fully equipped. The masterminds, the hired hands, the location, and the weapon were all in place. All that was left was for Sonam to lead Raja to the designated spot. The plot, hatched in secret conversations and fueled by a forbidden love, was about to reach its violent and tragic conclusion in the remote hills of Cherrapunji. On the morning of May 23, 2025, the final act of this tragedy began. Sonam suggested to Raja that they go for a trek on the Molinki-Yiyat trail in Cherrapunji. This trail is known for being less crowded than other tourist spots, offering the seclusion that Sonam and her conspirators needed for their plan. Raja, still believing he was on a romantic adventure with his wife, readily agreed. As they started their trek, they were not alone. The three hired killers, Akash, Vishal and Anand, were already on the trail, pretending to be fellow tourists. They joined the couple, making it seem like a chance encounter. Raja, friendly and unsuspecting, likely had no issue with the friendly strangers joining them. As the group walked along the path, they were spotted by a local tourist guide at around 10 o'clock in the morning. The guide approached them and offered his services, as he would with any group of tourists. However, the group declined his offer. They told him they knew the way and preferred to explore on their own. This was a crucial decision. A guide would have been a witness, and his presence would have made it impossible for them to carry out their plan. By sending the guide away, they ensured that there would be no one to see what they were about to do. They were now completely alone, deep in the wilderness, with Raja being the only one unaware of the danger he was in. Sonam played her part perfectly. According to the police investigation, which was later supported by confessions, she controlled the pace of the trek. She deliberately lagged behind with Raja, allowing the three hired killers to walk ahead and position themselves at a strategic spot. She was leading him, step by step, to a predetermined location where the killers would be waiting to ambush him. Every smile she gave him, every word she spoke, was part of a grand deception. Raja would have been enjoying the scenery, the fresh mountain air, and the company of his new wife, completely oblivious to the fact that he was walking into a deadly trap set by the very person he trusted most. The atmosphere on the trail must have been tense, at least for 4 of the 5 people present. The killers were waiting for their signal. Sonam was preparing to give it, and Raja was simply enjoying his honeymoon. The beautiful landscape around them, the green hills, the sound of distant waterfalls, the clear blue sky, stood in stark contrast to the dark and violent plan that was about to unfold. The final trek was not a journey of love, but a procession towards death. Sonam had successfully isolated her husband and brought him to a place where no one could hear his screams and no one could come to his rescue. The stage was set for murder. As the group reached a secluded spot near the magnificent Wei Sordong Falls, The time for deception was over. The plan was put into violent action. Sonam, who had been walking with Raja, allegedly gave the signal. She suddenly shouted, "Kill him!" This was the cue the three attackers had been waiting for. In an instant, the friendly facade of the fellow tourists dropped. Akash, Vishal and Anand lunged at Raja, who was caught completely off guard. Their initial plan was to simply push him off the high cliff and into the deep gorge below, making his death look like a tragic accident. But Raja, fighting for his life, resisted. He struggled against his attackers, preventing them from easily throwing him over the edge. The failed attempt to push him off the cliff led to an even more gruesome attack. One of the killers took out the kukri they had purchased in Guwahati. What followed was a scene of pure brutality. The attackers hacked at Raja with the sharp curved blade, striking him repeatedly. The man who had, just moments before, been enjoying his honeymoon was now fighting desperately against three armed assailants. According to police, Sonam did not run away in horror. Instead, she stood and watched as her husband was brutally murdered. She was not a passive bystander. She was an active participant in his final moments, ensuring the job was finished. After the savage attack, Raja lay bleeding and severely injured. The killers, with Sonam's alleged help, then succeeded in what they had first tried to do. They pushed Raja's lifeless body into the deep gorge near the waterfall. They wanted to hide the evidence of their crime, hoping his body would never be found in the remote and rugged terrain. The beautiful Wei Saodong Falls, a popular spot for tourists seeking natural beauty, had now become a gravesite. The sound of the rushing water, which usually brings a sense of peace, now served to muffle the final terrible moments of Raja's life. The honeymoon was officially over. With Raja dead, the group's next move was to cover their tracks. Sonam allegedly helped the killers, and they all left the crime scene together. They had committed a murder in one of the most beautiful places on earth, turning a paradise into a place of horror. Raja's body lay hidden in the gorge, waiting to be discovered. Sonam, the grieving widow in the making, had successfully executed her part of the plan. She had watched her husband die and helped dispose of his body. Now, she had to begin the next phase of her deception, playing the role of a worried wife whose husband had gone missing. But the truth, like Raja's body, could not stay hidden forever. After the murder, Sonam began her elaborate act of deception. She traveled by taxi from Cherrapunji to Shillong and then to Guwahati. From there, she allegedly took a train back towards Indore. She disposed of her mobile phone to erase any digital evidence linking her to the crime. Meanwhile, Raja's family grew increasingly worried when they couldn't contact him. They filed a missing person report, and the Meghalaya police launched an investigation. A special investigation team, or SIT, of 20 core officers was formed to handle the high-profile case. They codenamed their investigation Operation Honeymoon, a fitting name for a case that twisted the idea of a romantic trip into a tale of murder. The hunt for the truth had officially begun. The investigators started by retracing the couple's steps. Their first major breakthrough came on June 2, 2025, 10 days after the murder. After an extensive search of the remote area, police discovered Raja Raghuvansh's decomposed body in the gorge near Wei Saodong Falls. The condition of the body and the severe head injuries made it clear that this was no accident. It was a homicide. This discovery turned a missing person case into a full-blown murder investigation. The police now had a body and a crime scene, and their focus immediately shifted to finding the people responsible for this brutal act. The clock was ticking to bring the killers to justice. The SIT team worked meticulously, gathering every piece of evidence they could find. They collected physical evidence that would prove crucial. At the crime scene, they found traces of blood. Later, when the accused were arrested, police recovered a blood-stained shirt from one of them. Forensic tests confirmed the blood belonged to Raja. They also found blood traces on Sonam's raincoat. The murder weapon, the kukri, was eventually recovered, providing a direct link to the violent attack. The police also found other blood-stained clothes belonging to one of the killers at the time of his arrest. This physical evidence created a strong, undeniable link between the suspects and the crime. Alongside the physical evidence, the police built a powerful case using digital and documentary proof. They painstakingly reviewed CCTV footage from 42 different locations, tracking the movements of the couple and the hired killers. They gathered records from hotels where the couple stayed and the scooter rental shop they used. They found Aadhaar card photocopies that the killers had used for identification. Most importantly, they obtained all details. These records showed communications between Sonam, Raj, and the killers on the day of the murder, destroying Sonam's story that she didn't know the other man. Every piece of evidence was another nail in the coffin of their lives. The hunt for the truth was closing in on its targets. With a mountain of evidence pointing towards a conspiracy, the police moved in to capture the suspects. On June 7, 2025, Operation Honeymoon led to the arrest of the 3 hired killers. The SIT tracked them down to locations in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Akash Rajput, Vishal Singh Chauhan, and Anand Cooley were taken into custody. During interrogation, their tough exterior quickly crumbled. Faced with the evidence collected by the police, the men confessed to their role in the crime. They admitted that they had been hired by Raj Kushwaha to kill Raja Raghuvansha, and described in detail what happened on the trail near Wai Saudong Falls. Their confession was a major breakthrough, confirming the investigators' theory of a contract killing. With the hired guns in custody, the focus turned to the masterminds, Sonam and her lover, Raj Kushwaha. Sonam, meanwhile, was trying to create a cover story. She had traveled back from Meghalaya and met up with Raj in a rented room in Indore. She then traveled to Ghazipur in Uttar Pradesh, where she surrendered at the Nandganj police station on June 8th. Initially, she tried to play the victim, attempting to feign an abduction story. She likely planned to claim that she and Raja were attacked by unknown assailants and that she had escaped. However, the police were already aware of the conspiracy, and her story did not hold up against the evidence and the confessions of the killers. Raj Kushwaha was also arrested, and the web of lies completely fell apart. Under police questioning, both Sonam and Raj allegedly admitted to their roles in the murder plot. Sonam's story shifted from a grieving, abducted widow to that of a cold and calculating killer who had masterminded her husband's murder so she could be with her lover. The 5 accused, Sonam, Raj, Akash, Vishal, and Anand, were all in police custody. The authorities then made arrangements to transport all of them back to Meghalaya. On June 11, 2025, they were brought to Shillong to be produced in court and to face the legal consequences of their actions. The arrests and confessions brought the initial phase of the investigation to a successful close. The police had identified everyone involved, from the people who planned the crime to the people who carried it out. The story that Sonam had tried to create, a story of a honeymoon gone wrong due to a random act of violence, was exposed as a complete fabrication. The truth was far more sinister. It was a story of a premeditated murder, born from a secret affair and executed with chilling precision. The surrender and confessions marked the end of their run from the law and the beginning of their journey through the justice system. The Raja and Sonam murder case sent shockwaves across the country. The story of a new bride allegedly masterminding her husband's murder on their honeymoon was so shocking that it captured the public's imagination. People were horrified by the sheer cold-bloodedness of the crime. The case was widely covered in the news, with every new detail adding another layer to the chilling story. The public was fascinated and appalled by the level of deception involved. A wedding, which is supposed to symbolize love and trust, was used as a tool for murder. The betrayal was so profound that it left many people questioning how someone could be capable of such a cruel act against their own spouse. As of today, June 11, 2025, the case is still an active investigation, even though the main suspects are in custody. The police are continuing their work to tie up all the loose ends. One of their main priorities is to find the mobile phones that the accused disposed of after the crime. These phones could contain crucial text messages, photos, or other digital evidence that could further solidify the case against them. Another major task is to trace the money trail. The police are working to find evidence of the 20 lakh rupees that Raj Kushwaha allegedly offered the killers. Proving this financial transaction would provide a concrete motive for the contract killing. The next step in the investigation will be to take the accused back to the scene of the crime. The police plan to conduct a crime scene reconstruction near Waisaodong Falls. They will have Sonam and the three killers walk them through the events of May 23, 2025, step by step. This process helps investigators verify the details of the confessions and can often reveal new information. It will be a chilling moment, as the accused will have to stand in the very spot where they allegedly took Raja's life and recount their actions. This will be a critical part of building an unbreakable case for the prosecution. This case serves as a stark and tragic reminder of the dark side of human nature. It shows how secrets and forbidden desires can lead to devastating consequences. For the Raghuvanshi family, the pain is unimaginable. They celebrated a wedding only to be planning a funeral just a few weeks later, all while learning that their new daughter-in-law was the alleged killer. The story of Raja and Sonam is a cautionary tale that will likely be remembered for years to come. It is a story of a honeymoon that turned into a horror show, a love story that was really a murder plot, and a shocking betrayal that cut a young man's life short in the most brutal way.